fundamental overall trends is number one, globalization. I mean, at the end of the day, there are going to be more humans on the planet next year versus this year, and they're going to have more money next year than this year. And that is just a fundamental economic reality that undergirds everything. And as people have more disposable income, they typically like the nicer things, especially when it comes to food and alcohol. That's just our nature. You know, bread and wine has been part of man since forever. And so we're able to ride that wave globally with population growth, but especially with growth of wealth. So that is a global trend.
Right. How is globalization impacting how consumers are spending their money and how they're choosing their products?
I guess what I would say to that is that, you know, while we talk in theory about these globalizations, it really for us is about being where the customers are. For us to be the global leader that we aspire to be, we must have all of our expertise in every major region in the world.
Right.
Because we can't have the greatest European technology, but have somebody from California, you know, be 9 hours apart in terms of time.
Right.
You know, we have to have people in the Americas who understand the equipment, can start up the equipment, that can service the equipment. Ultimately, we have to be able to leverage our US and Canadian facilities in some instances to build the equipment. But you get into the whole issue of sustainability and lead times. I mean, it takes time to ship something across the ocean, and that also involves, you know, fuel and boats and all kinds of things that make it a less sustainable, slower process. But figuring out how to make products around the world is just a lot tougher than if you're a single plant company who only makes one machine.
Everybody's talking about the cargo ships and the shipping overseas in terms of supply chain disruption, but nobody has talked about this as a sustainability issue and the fuel and the resources that it's costing. And so perhaps the supply chain is forcing us into a sustainability solution.
Yeah, that's right. But, you know, and this is where it may be complex to do what we're trying to do, but we have the assets to do that.
Yeah. So then this puts Markel way ahead of the game on both of those problems.
That's correct. No, that's correct. I mean, we don't have to figure out what we're going to do in China. We have the largest facility of any American equipment company in China. And we're working right now on building closer to the customers, which, you know, fortunately for us, we have the assets. And when I say assets, I mean, we have the buildings, we have the people, we have a footprint to do that. We have a 25-year head start on that. And it's not easy.
That's so interesting. Like very, very illuminating. We're coming through a pandemic. We're not out of it, but we're coming through it. We're heading into another IBIE. What do you think are the most important issues that the industry should be focusing on right now? And then how do you see Markel as a leader in helping bakers tackle those issues?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's interesting because COVID, I think to a large extent, what COVID has really done has been to accelerate some trends that were going to happen anyhow. It's just that it's been a little bit of pouring gasoline on that fire. I mean, the first thing is automation, right? It's automation. You know, one of the big things about, you know, automation is so often you're automating a task that in a world of important things that excite people to do, it's not that important, it's not that exciting. And those are the harder jobs to get people to take, and even the harder jobs to get people to stay, especially now when, you know, you don't want 10 people in a line standing 2 feet from each other doing that because of COVID. And so, you know, whether it is COVID and the desire not to have people standing next to each other, or whether it is just all the issues we hear in terms of people and workforce, I mean, the automation side of our business it's crazy. And this is not just a US issue. This is an around the world issue. First of all, the whole area of automation, the workhorse acquisition is just a perfect example of a great technology, a great company. The other side is the whole digital transformation. That's one of the buzzwords out there. But simplistically, it's about how to use our artificial intelligence. There's what goes on physically, and then there is the electronic recording or electronic imaging of it that can be managed remotely, and whether that's troubleshooting, whether that's monitoring. But it really starts with each of the pieces of equipment. How do you make a machine smarter so that you don't have to have a person, turn something up or turn something down? From a sustainability point of view, it's not just hydrogen or electric ovens. It's also how do we build around the world so we're not putting things on cargo ships and
right.
using fossil fuels to move things across oceans. So all of those things are coming together. And I just think that the pandemic, but what it's doing is forcing us to just take a deeper look at the whole automation and how can we use technology instead of people.